Good evening, I'm Matt White and welcome to Today Tonight. Australia has long been known as the lucky country, but we're quickly becoming the costly country. Our economy is strong, but our prices are going up. And compared to the rest of the world, we're paying up to 14 times more for some goods. After a 3-month investigation, Damien Hansen has this special report on the real cost of living in Australia.
You will always find that Australians are paying the highest price.
This CD in Australia will cost you $27. In the US, $9. These running shoes, $219. In Germany, just $132. This pint of beer in Australia, $8.50. In the UK, $4.40. Almost half. It's been described as the great Australian rip-off, an epidemic of unaffordability fuelled by overzealous and antiquated government policy. Tonight, why we're paying 2, 3, even 14 times more for everyday goods than the rest of the world. From cars to books, movie tickets, CDs, fruit and vegetables, to houses and parking, Australians are paying way over the mark.
Let's turn the success of the global recession into enduring gains for all Australians.
We hear about the mining boom, we hear about how Australia's come out of the GFC and Europe's the one that's still in there and aren't we lucky, but really I think the ordinary man on the street would say I'm not seeing that.
Oliver Marc, Hartwich and Rebecca Gill are the authors of a Centre for Independent Studies report which points the finger for our expensive way of life squarely at unnecessary government policy.
We compared price differences and sometimes they were just staggering.
A trip to the movies in Australia costs on average $12.98. We've got 90 screens for every million people. Canada has 86 per million. They pay half the price.
In the US it was $7.50, France $8, New Zealand $8.50. Why are we paying more?
It's a question we can also ask when we go shopping. At a supermarket in the United Kingdom, we did a shop for 10 basic items. We purchased the same items here. The difference was surprising. The UK basket was $12.03 cheaper, a saving of almost 44%.
We are being ripped off unnecessarily because these are simple goods that every family should be able to afford and they can't now.
As for bananas, Australia's most popular grocery item, last year Cyclone Yasi obliterated much of the country's crop and prices started...
You're going bananas.
...up to just under $14 a kilo. At the same time in New Zealand, the UK, France and the United States, they were all paying less than $2.50.
A report was done in 2006 that recommended we open the market, but nothing's been done.
Government has actually made it very expensive for us to live here.
4 years on, and the government's own recommendation allowing the conditional import of green bananas from the Philippines is yet to be implemented.
I think if Australians only knew how much they're being ripped off on a daily basis, I think they would be even angrier.
But do we have a right to feel like we're being ripped off? Or are we a nation of whingers suffering from economic hypochondria?
So it's a catch-22 to say you want to buy cheap, and yet you still want high wages.
Lynn Wilkinson from lobby group Ausbuy believes the bitter pill of high prices is one we must swallow.
We've got a lower population, we've got more expensive transport costs, and we've got higher base wages, and our retailers also have to pay high rents.
Food is expensive as well. Alcohol, cigarettes, transport. Yeah, a lot of things are very expensive in Australia.
Our expensive reputation stands to threaten our tourism market too. Visiting backpackers offer the perfect barometer.
Save a lot of money if you want to come in Australia.
We've got even more to whine about when it comes to beer. In the UK, they pay half what we do. And who would have thought that Pitt Street Mall is more exclusive than the Champs-Élysées?
Well, I would argue that Paris is probably still a little bit more glamorous than Pitt Street Mall, and yet it is cheaper to rent a store there. Something is not quite right here.
There's nothing right about our overpriced parking either. 3-hour parking comparisons see Sydney top the list of 19 cities worldwide. At just under $35 an hour, it's cheaper to park in London and even New York. While you're there, you're better off looking for a car as well.
We found the same car advertised in Australia for $360,000. We found exactly the same car, same mileage, same engine. I think it was even the same colour in Britain for 110. So enormous price differences.
Again, we can thank the government in part for our chronic hip pocket pain. Oliver believes family and small cars would also be cheaper if luxury car tax and current import duties were abolished.
A lot of the cars in this category may even be just normal, larger family cars.
The government regulations covering bookstores is also costing us.
We don't import books, so every book has to be published and printed in Australia.
The Copyright Act of 1968 prevents Australian book retailers from importing cheaper versions of books published overseas, but anyone can do it online.
Then it really needs to be a change, otherwise we will see more and more bookstores just disappear from our streets.
Much like the pursuit of owning a home.
All the house price inflation really comes from the land component. In a country the size of Australia, land should never be that expensive.
We just can't have a boom like we've had again.
The Centre for Independent Studies calls to controversially abolish first home buyers grants, stamp duty and negative gearing, which some argue have inflated prices.
Any government that abolished it would be very brave.
Property analyst and buyers advocate Scott McGeever argues negative gearing should be here to stay, but says the first home buyers grant could be adjusted.
It's certainly been a big part of the market and has certainly been a driver for that sub $500,000 market.
It seems the lucky country has become the expensive one, leaving millions to count the cost.
We keep on saying we're in a great shape, and at the end of the day, we're not.